I do wonder if the Prime Minister will now use this as his opportunity to perhaps move her to a different department or out of government altogether. I don't think she can continue when everything that she's presided over has really not worked. And with your own Conservative MPs now rounding on you, that is the worst position for any Secretary of State.
Now, across many of the front pages, the Home Office is facing yet more pressure to tackle boat crossings after 6 migrants died in the English Channel yesterday. A further 59 people have been rescued and 2 could still be missing. Well, the government, of course, has spent the last week outlining policies to stop the boats, but a growing number of Tory MPs are calling for more action. We speak now to Clair Pearsell, who is a former Home Office advisor. Good morning.
Good morning.
What do you make of the Home Office's handling of the week's events?
It's not been the best week for the Home Office or indeed the government. They put their Stop the Boats week front and centre of everybody's mind, and practically everything that they've done has gone wrong, from the crossings in the Channel being up to 100,000, but also the Bibby Stockholm and Legionnaire's disease, and then the tragic consequences in the Channel of yesterday where 6 people lost their lives. So it's not been the best week.
How much of this, I mean, you've been involved with the Home Office, that one of the criticisms that's come out this week is that the Home Office is just simply too big. It looks after too many big, important issues and quite frankly can't get a handle on any of it. Is that a fair criticism?
Yes, I think it is. One thing you learn from working within the immigration area of the Home Office is just how enormous that is. How many things you have to deal with on a daily basis, how many crises come your way, whether it be boats, whether it be security at the border, passports, asylum claims, detention estate. To have one person running an entire department just of that would make much more sense than the Home Secretary having to look over everything, plus the police and plus national security. It used to be a cabinet attending position, but unfortunately has been downgraded. And I think that was a real mistake.
Let's talk about the Bibby Stockholm for a moment, because we know that it's been reported that this Legionella bacteria, traces of it, were found on board. These 39 migrants who were on board then had to be taken off. How could it be that the Home Office thought it was a good idea to put these people on board before the test results had come back to see if Legionella was on board? I'm just wondering if you can give us a bit of an insight into kind of like the decision making, because from the outside it just seems bizarre and quite frankly a really simple thing to say, we'll just wait till the tests come back. How did that not happen?
I think there was enormous pressure from number 10 to get people onto the barge. It was symbolic for them to have those migrants being placed there and out of hotels. So I think the decision was, oh, we should be okay. We've done the testing. Let's get people on there. But they knew on Wednesday evening that those tests could have proved difficult for them, and they still put people on Thursday. So I think that the pushback from officials probably wasn't enough, but I think that the government was under enormous pressure. So ministers would have just taken the risk in the hope that everything would have been okay. But that isn't the way to run it, because as we've seen, it now just looks like an enormous white elephant and another error for the government.
We know that Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, is coming under increasing pressure, even from her own Conservative MPs. Do you think it's fair to put a lot of criticism at her door for what has been a really unsuccessful week?
Well, I think if you are the Home Secretary and you are front and centre of this, then you have to shoulder the responsibility of whichever policies your department is putting out there. I think that her position is going to become quite unsteady over the next week. There is a reshuffle looming, as we all know. And I do wonder if the Prime Minister will now use this as his opportunity to perhaps move her to a different department or out of government altogether. I don't think she can continue when everything that she's presided over has really not worked. And with your own Conservative MPs now rounding on you, that is the worst position for any Secretary of State.
It's interesting. We were talking to the government on Friday and sort of asking what's the plan B on migration, because at the moment the whole issue with Rwanda is caught up in the courts. At best, the government could think that maybe some flights would take off in January, but there's some hoops still to be jumped through. What do you think the plan B should be? Should they have a plan B? Have they got a plan B?
Well, yes, they should have a plan B, but unfortunately, I don't think they actually do. And the policies or ideas that they put out, such as sending people over to Ascension Island, are just going to get laughed out of Parliament when it returns. So, yes, they should have a plan B, but it's very, very difficult now to see where it is they go because they have set everything against Rwanda working. It seems that all eggs are in that basket and nobody is coming up with a sensible solution. It's quite interesting to see that Labour also don't have any kind of sensible solution coming forward. So nobody understands what can be done. And I think that's really worrying. You need to be looking further afield. You need to be looking at international cooperation. The deal with Turkey is definitely a start with that to try and smash these criminal gangs. But you kind of feel that this is perhaps too little too late.